Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the nation from my flagship station, WSB in Atlanta, Georgia, and all over the state of Georgia. And because of that, we've been doing something a little different. We've invited all of the candidates who are running in the Republican primary for the U.S. Senate from Georgia. We've had some on from other states as well, from Ohio, Pennsylvania, and the like, but wanted to really focus on Georgia. One, I'm hearing, too, it's if we pick up Georgia, we win control of the U.S. Senate. So we've heard from Kelvin King, we've heard from Josh Clark, we've heard from Latham Sadler. Today, in studio for this hour, I've got the Commissioner of Agriculture of Georgia, Gary Black, joining me. Thanks for being here.
Eric, good to be with you and all your listeners, and look forward. This is going to be a great visit.
So now, just out of the gate, first of all, I want to get you to give your background, and if you would, kind of explain what does the Ag Commissioner do in Georgia?
Sure, Eric. I live on the farm my dad purchased in 1969 up in Commerce. So we never farmed for a living, but it was the way I was raised.
I thought Commerce was an outlet mall.
Yeah, well, it still is. It's an outlet for wonderful Simmental Angus cattle, and I've got 5 bulls for sale right now. So anybody want to call, we'll post the number later. But we're up there. Lydia and I, we've been married for 39 years. Just celebrated a couple of weeks ago. We raised our kids there. It's been fortunate. It's where I grew up. We moved back after my first part of my career was at Farm Bureau, and then had a opportunity to work with largest part of most part of my career, Georgia Agribusiness Council. And so we moved back up there in 1993, and we still, the things that we do on the land, we still do for real. That's my golf and my fishing and my other things. It's just we raise beef cattle, and then we have a good time. We're active at Maysville Baptist Church up there in a wonderful church family. But other than that, I am traveling the state, have my whole entire 40-year career in ag, somewhere liable to be somewhere as much as somewhere else during the day. You know,
let me. I'm going to, to a degree, ambush this conversation a little bit out of the gate because I knew you were a farm. I didn't realize it was beef. Can you speak just a little bit about, as a farmer,
Yeah.
I keep reading that the butchering and stuff, those costs keep going up, and you as the farmer, cattle farmer, you're not seeing a lot of the increases in the prices.
Right. Those margins are still real thin, and I think that's where we've got a really good opportunity in Georgia. It's been the hottest topic in my office the last 7-8 years. Is we need expanded processing capabilities here in Georgia. We've had a lot of small. I regulate about 140 establishments in Georgia, but some of those have beginning to go by the wayside. Nobody else in the family wants to pick them up. But yet, at the same time, as we've promoted our Georgia Grown brand that we've started from scratch 12 years ago. People want to buy Georgia Grown beef, Georgia Grown pork, and we're seeing a great demand now for more local processing to come back. I think you're going to see some of those businesses grow and flourish.
I'm one of those, by the way. I would much prefer to buy local, whether it's a brisket or a Boston butt or something from a local farmer.
Absolutely. My daughter and son-in-law have a great business called Texca Farms.
I didn't realize that was it. My gosh, I follow them on Instagram. I'm about to put in an order with them.
No, that's my daughter.
I had no idea that was your daughter.
Yeah, and they do a fantastic job. But there are others that do the same thing. And that's where we've got to, as beef producers, take advantage of more of the dollar. How can we keeping more of the dollar here at home, as opposed to just being a price taker and saying, what will you give me for something at the end of your marketing season? Taking more part of that value. And we've been through the department. We've been encouraging and working with the different groups that have an interest in building. And plus, when the aftermath, maybe we talk about Hurricane Michael today, some of the things we did with respect to that. But in the aftermath of Hurricane Michael, we had about $7.8 million left of funds that were supposed to go to cleaning up Georgia forests. That I was successful last year in getting the General Assembly to repurpose that money through a banking institution that I'm chairman of the board of. That's one of my jobs. I'm chairman of the board of a $180 million bank that provides working capital and for the industry. But that new $7.8 million fund is to expand food processing and on-farm processing. And we're busy. We've got a board meeting tomorrow. We may have a loan. Love to say we could approve a loan for that tomorrow, but we're going to see. That's going to what it's going to take to get more value into the farmer's pocket, rather than just being a basic. What will you give me? There's great opportunity for smaller producers actually to capture more of that dollar and keep it here at home.
You mentioned Hurricane Michael. One of the things I have heard, and what I mean, the documentation is there. The rate of farmer suicides in South Georgia going up after the devastation of Hurricane Michael and the delay in federal funds. How, for those listening outside the state, this hurricane came through Georgia. It's 2018?
It's 18.
And just devastated South Georgia.
Fall of 18, of course, we had Cat 5, Cat 4 hurricane hit Donaldsonville, Georgia, southwest Georgia corner. Unprecedented, first time ever. The thoughts of we have a Cat 4 coming, and a 250-mile swath all the way up to Augusta. We were, I can remember it being, first we'll paint the picture of Michael in a second. Mm-hmm. Talking about mental health, it has been something we've been concerned about, but it's always, agriculture is a high-pressure job. It's there. You have to be literally a veterinarian, an accountant, a commodities specialist, and a high-tech equipment technician, plus about 1,000 other jobs, and you put the pressures on people. It has been one of those occupations. It's always been tough for people to handle. But when you get into challenges in the world market, then we have a storm like Michael. It did put a lot of extra pressure on our farm families. That that I've been blessed to come alongside a lot of those, and sit with them in their home, and pray with them over the phone during a frost, and during all those kind of weather events that farmers face. That's been one of the blessings of doing this job, is actually to be able to minister to people too. And I know you're sensitive to that in your work. But Hurricane Michael, when it hit, we knew it was bad. I was in the one of the roles again at the Department of Agriculture. We have enormous responsibility during disaster preparedness and response and emergency management in the aftermath of a big activity like that. I've got responsibility for fuel. I have responsibility for when the power goes off and food institutions need to get back up. They don't get up unless we make sure the food's safe. But also it was really clear early on that this was going to be the most devastating thing that ever impacted production agriculture and landowners, our forest products. In the aftermath of hurricane, if we could have got every pine tree that was blown over, if we could have got it on a trailer and to market, which we couldn't, but how many log trucks would that have been, Eric?
I have no idea. 1.2
million log trucks. Wow. That's how much pine timber we lost.
Wow.
And so we worked with the president. I remember I was with President Trump on Monday after the storm really stopped blowing on Thursday, with Secretary Perdue over the weekend. We were in helicopters. We couldn't do anything, but we could get B-roll. I had our camera people plus GoPros on the front of the Georgia Forestry Commission helicopters getting B-roll so that folks in Atlanta could actually see the devastation, and much of that ran across the country. Mm-hmm. But then it got back to putting the relief packages together. What we did was unprecedented in really in the history of an agricultural disaster. We administered a state block grant. So the federal government actually appropriated the money to the states to administer. We're the only state that had ours in on time, the only state to ever really reconfigure the way disaster relief would come for U.S. farmers, and we did so. Unfortunately, President Trump had his swamp too. Secretary Perdue had his swamp. It took us 13 months to get the money, but once we did, we had the money in Georgia farmers' hands and those families in just 15 weeks. So we did some very creative things. There's some silver linings that came out of it, but overall, I think the health of mental health's always tough, but I hope some of that's begun to recover. But the financial health had a couple of decent years. COVID was a strange year because we thought we were going to lose a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. All of us stayed home, and the demand was higher ever at the grocery store. And fruit and vegetable actually came out pretty good. But then we we have Chinese tariffs, and that really knocks a hole in the bottom of what happened with our nation-leading pecan industry. So there's always ups and downs in ag. I've often said that I'm absolutely convinced that Charles Dickens was a farmer. Because in The Tale of Two Cities, he said it is the best of times and it is the worst of times, and that seems like it's most any year it's a little bit of both.
Challenging. Now, I want to get into your bio a little bit here. We got a few minutes before commercial break. How did you get into politics to begin with? Before you even get to ag commissioner, how did you get involved?
Interesting, because this was a job I never intended to do.
Kind of like me in radio. Fall into it.
and pretty much like this other thing that we're talking about too. Mm-hmm. Came a time that became a leadership call, and at that time I was prepared, and folks trusted me to do this job for 3 times, and I'm blessed by that. But it goes back to the University of Georgia. I was going to be a teacher of agricultural education. I was scheduled the winter quarter of '80 to go to Forsyth County High School and be a student teacher. I was going through a organization, if you will, on North Campus at the University of Georgia that required an initiation, and during that process, a gentleman came up to me and said, "What are you doing next quarter?" I said, "I'm teaching, I'm going to be student teaching." He said, "No, you're not." I said, "Really, what am I going to be doing?" He said, "You're going to be interning on the Senate Committee for Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry under Chairman Herman Talmadge." Huh. I said, "Well, that's awesome, but I don't know him, nor do I even know you." He said, "You let me handle that." I learned the details a week later, and winter quarter, I interned on the Senate Committee of Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry for Senator Herman Talmadge. Wow. And I actually got write some papers, pour water for the senators during a meeting, tote the mail, pick up the trash, and do whatever I was asked to do, and I tried to listen, and there's no doubt that changed the trajectory of what I was doing. I never taught. I did go back to student teach that fall, but then I had a chance to go to work for Farm Bureau, which has a legislative area. I was not in that group. I was in the Young Farmer Leadership Development Program. I ran it for, often components of it up for 7.5 years, and then I started a little business, and that worked really good. Was actually a precursor to Georgia Grown. And then I was called in in 1989 to be president of the Georgia Agribusiness Council, and that's where for 21 years I was basically working to make sure that the government stayed off the back of farmers and producers and manufacturers involved in agriculture. And we had a very blessed career there, both in Washington and here in Atlanta. I just finished my 33rd session of the Georgia General Assembly in some capacity. Never there voting, but I was making sure those folks that were punching red and green, that they were punching green at the right time and red at the right time when it came to issues affecting agriculture.
I'm talking to Agriculture Commissioner Gary Black. He's running for the U.S. Senate here in Georgia. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, I gotta ask the controversial subject: is Georgia really the peach state, or should we be calling ourselves the blueberry state? Ooh. If you're a regular listener to this podcast, you know I used to have a great business sense and love to invest, and it just got overwhelming. And I've been looking to get back into it. And y'all, I have tried the different companies. Y'all know the companies I'm talking about out there. And I settled on SoFi for a lot of reasons, and now I'm actually happy to tell you about them as a podcast advertiser. I'm happy they came on board because I came on board them before this, and I really like it. And one of the reasons I like it is because it's gotten so complicated with all the jargon out there. You got meme stocks, altcoin, you got shilling for different stocks. You don't know who you can trust. With SoFi, you can actually get into investing, stocks, ETFs, crypto, retirement planning. You get all the IRA options, whether SEP, traditional, or Roth. You don't get commissions on trading stocks and ETFs. You get no account fees or hidden fees. You can use fractional shares that start as low as $5 to buy brand name stocks. Even if you don't have a couple $1,000s lying around, you can get started for cheap with SoFi, putting your money in and watching it grow over time. Now listen, you get hands-on with active investing. You can let SoFi's #1 ranked automated investing tool, their Robo-Advisor, take the stress out of building and managing a diversified portfolio. They've got it all there. It's easy to use. I've been using it. I love the interface. It's intuitive. If I can do it, you can do it. Cut through the jargon. Make investing easy with SoFi. Go to SoFi.com/Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to learn how you can win up to $1,000 in stock when you open an account. That's SoFi.com/Eric, SoFi.com/ERICK. Brokerage and active investing products offered through SoFi Securities, LLC, member FINRA, SIPC. Well, there is some breaking news I need to get to real quick here. Ukraine is announcing it has repelled the Russian incursion into the Sumy region in southern Ukraine, which is actually a really big strategic gain. Humorously, the Reuters picture of the Ukrainian soldiers shows them holding paintball guns. I'm realizing that in the picture. Nonetheless, big breaking news here. I am joined in studio this hour by Georgia Commissioner of Agriculture, Gary Black. He's running for the U.S. Senate. And as I said, I told you, I mean, these aren't tough questions, but substantive questions. Georgia's the peach state, and yet, as I understand it, we produce a whole lot more blueberries these days.
By law, it is. And it's it goes back a long time. We actually are the third leading producer of peaches. California's first, South Carolina's second. California produces 20 times more than we do. But unfortunately, if there are any California listeners, but certainly for our Georgia listeners in here in the Southeast, always know Georgia peaches are 20 times better.
Yes, they are.
If you want to buy cardboard, then have at it. But our lost a few. This last frost kind of bit the early season peaches. But I talked to. I was with House Agriculture Committee Chairman Robert Dickey Saturday night, and his harvest is about to start. And there's nothing better than Dickey peaches when they come along, and a lot of our other middle Georgia producers, they do a great job. But it's a great product. But it's still the moniker. But
Right.
we're in a strong third place.
We will be down at Dickey Farms, I'm sure, at some point. My wife, what is it? The Alberta peach is her favorite thing on the planet.
Still a sought after, but a lot of new varieties. That's got a great relationship the peach industry does with the University of Georgia, and that's one of their key responsibilities over in Athens is making sure we got new varieties for the next generation of producers, and certainly there've been some in peach and pecan and blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
But we're in the blueberry business purely because of the success of the University of Georgia. It was the breeders in Griffin, Dr. Scott Neesmith, a great Dr. Blueberry, who developed the basic plant material that was more suitable for Georgia's climate, and that's over 30 years ago, and now we're still the industry's still growing. If we can ever just jump through each of these little late winter and early spring freezes, we would lead the nation in blueberry. But sometimes the Lord's keeping us humble from the standpoint of
blueberries, peaches, pecans, peanuts.
Yeah. Lead the nation in this, Eric. First is poultry by far. Peanut. We lead the nation in peanut. We lead the nation in forest product production. So a lot of people think it's out west or somewhere. No. It's Georgia with our wonderful renewable forests here in Georgia with southern yellow pine and the new varieties there that are for building materials and lots of other things. Actually, we're shipping, still doing pellets that go into energy and production in the EU. They're coming from Georgia timber. So, and then pecan. What we talked about Michael a while ago. We lost 28,000 acres of pecan trees in Hurricane Michael. That's set us back. Normally we'd lead the nation in pecan, but they're coming back with lots of replantings and that ever present futuristic positive attitude of a producer is maybe it's kind of like a Cubs fan. Wait till next year.
Hey, yeah, as a Cubs fan, yes, I've been there, and Braves as well, people. But the Cubs, every year. I've got a lot of friends from South Louisiana and around the country now, and Ellis Brothers down in South Georgia. They get boxes of pecans from my family every year, and if I don't send them now, they get mad at me. I'm kind of obligated.
Brad's got a great business, a wonderful family down there.
Yeah. In fact, Donna Brazil from CNN Fox, now over at ABC, if I don't send her Ellis Brothers pecans for Christmas every year, my wife gets an angry note, and I get in trouble.
Well, we want to be sure that the Erickson household is always a peaceful place.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
You keep those orders coming.
Now, so if you're just tuning in, I'm talking to Gary Black, the Commissioner of Agriculture in Georgia. When we come back, we've talked a lot about the ag industry. There's a lot going on in this U.S. Senate race. And I want to talk to you about other issues as well out there and how you see the land. We got about 45 seconds to a minute here, though. How often are you out on the campaign trail now in addition to doing your day job?
Well, I'm doing my day job 24/7, and seems like that's what we're doing on campaign too. But it's a blend, and the trains are still running on time, and I've got a great team. But there's quite a bit at stake for the future of Georgia. Mm-hmm. I've got a lot at stake for an 18-month-old grandson that I'd love to have a country. And so that's one of the reasons of being in this race. But this morning would totally work. We were at Mountain View High School with an AP Environmental Sciences class for an hour. I taught them and I did some cool things. And then a pharmacy opened out in Grayson. You've got to go to pharmacy, Pharmacy. Is a great new small farmers market / local products activity. A little Georgia grown ribbon cutting this morning, and so that was in a great meeting with the Gwinnett Chamber Board today. So it's those kind of things every day.
All right,
for sure.
We will be back talking more issues here in Georgia. Welcome back. I am in studio with Gary Black, the Georgia Commissioner of Agriculture, who is also running for the United States Senate. Now, we've talked a lot about agriculture, but there's this issue in every interview that has come up. Agriculture is obviously a big issue. Everybody wants to be on the Ag Committee. Everybody wants to be on the Armed Services Committee. What other issues beyond agriculture are you encountering out there on the campaign trail?
There seems to be a lot of repetition on what everybody was saying, and you know, Eric,
nobody's ever said, I want to be on the Government Oversight Committee. John Ossoff's already got that locked down.
Yes, and that ought to be a nightmare for everybody listening. But there are two issues that I see, Eric, that if we don't solve them, it's not going to matter what committee you're on, and it's not going to matter what infrastructure of this nation is or what health care is. I'm absolutely convinced that if we don't stop this invasion of the southern border, then all is for naught. The second is a little bit of alliteration because obviously the inflation that's impacting everybody, every zip code, and making this what you look like, where you are. It's now that in. Adam Smith had the invisible hand of government and the wealth of nations, but you know what? There are other people's hands that are going deeper into our pocket now because of bad policies in this Biden administration. And I think Warnock's is purely a yes man for all of it. And so I think we have to. Those are two things I'm most focused on. I've been to the border twice. I've been with Customs and Border Patrol agents in the middle of the night. I've been in some pretty tough places. It's amazing to see, literally, I mean, for the listeners to know, what you might see on Newsmax or Fox News still doesn't do it justice. Mm-hmm. Since October, over 900,000 people have crossed the border illegally. Those are the ones that we've apprehended. Mm-hmm. That number's over 14,000 from Russia now.
Really? Gosh.
And then a large influx from China. And this administration has just turned our Customs and Border Patrol agents into Disney World. They're like they're working for Six Flags. Welcome to Six Flags. Come on in. Mm-hmm. And then they process them, and then they all get a court date, and then we know that very few ever show back up, and they come to a community near every one of us. The 60,000 plus are the ones that they don't catch. And I saw this firsthand about 10 weeks ago, we were there on Thursday afternoon. I was with CBP, and we escorted 41 folks in. Two of them were from Turkey, and they claim seeking asylum, or whatever. And there's some tragic situations that you're sensitive to with children and little kids and all that kind of stuff. But then I was there when the radio went off, and the radio says, wait a minute, runners at a certain coordinate about a mile and a half away. Mm-hmm. 'Cause that's what they do. They pull in groups, allow those to pass. CBP concentrates resources. That leaves a hole and leaves a gap. And that's where the fentanyl is coming from. That's where the human traffic is coming from. And those are the ones we don't catch. And so I'm just very firm about the fact that we got to build this wall. I'm very firm about the fact that we have got to take steps in this administration or through act of law, whatever steps necessary. If I'm just the megaphone for saying designate the drug cartels as terrorist organizations, it should have already been done, and we should be taking the terror to them. We should absolutely. It gives us better control of their international mobility, seizing assets, or having more aggressive in that area. Because it's modern day slavery is going on at our southern border today. Because it's not that the folks the boats or the rafts you see coming across that they paid to get across. Mm-hmm. They didn't pay the government. The government has nothing to do with it. That's a shell game. It's the drug cartels that own that border. So they come up and they say, if you're Mexico, you want to cross. Okay, that's $2,500. If you're from Russia, that's $9,000. If you're Guatemala, that's about $5,000. So a man and his wife and 2 kids walk up from Guatemala in 30 days, and I say, we want to get across. Okay, that's $20,000. Okay, well, we don't have $20,000. Well, look, we can make an arrangement for you. Where's your family in Guatemala? Who are they? Okay, let's make a contact. Okay, I've got that information. Now, where are you headed? Minneapolis? You've got friends in Minneapolis. Okay, let's get their cell phone number. Give me their contact, because see, you're going to pay the $20,000. Mm-hmm. If that's not modern day slavery, I don't know what is.
Right.
And so it's got to stop. And this nation we turned into a nation of suggestions. Please don't. Not a nation of laws. We've got to restore that. The safety of our country, the security of the country, our homes, our families, the economy, everything hinges, I believe, on. And so providing leadership to that, if I'm just one voice, I'll be one voice to try to get those other 59 to come along and say we have to fix this issue.
You're probably the perfect person to debunk this, because we occasionally get callers who say this, that the farmers down in South Georgia, they depend on these illegal immigrants, so there's no will to actually solve the problem.
Mythical and internet garbage. Mm-hmm. Are there people here working illegally in agriculture or in media or in
right.
Auto parts stores? Yes, because some sift through like that. But Georgia's the largest user of H-2A labor, which means that's the legal way. And those folks come here, they do their job, and they go home. They're skilled. They're capable of doing it. Every farmer in Georgia would love to say, where's my sober, local, drug-free, reliable worker from my community, and I'll hire them, and I'll hire them today. The problem is that's not existent. And so we've that program, there's actually some changes that President Trump made some very good changes to H-2A that Biden rolled back when he got into office, that I'd love to see some of those things corrected too. I've been working on immigration issues. First group of farmers I took to Washington was in 1997. And about all that's changed is the calendar. And if I can be the one voice to help nudge that forward, I sure want to, because I want our country protected.
Now, the related issue to this, we are, I think for the first time I can recall, and I got to go back and check, because there may have been a time in the 1900s when this was the case, but I don't believe, where we do not have a member of the Senate from Georgia on the Armed Services Committee.
It's just a total abdication of responsibility from the current office holder, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yes, we having that, not just from a standpoint of relations with the military, but relations with the rural communities in Georgia, where the military is the largest employer, and then you have all the economic development that takes place with respect to that, of the linkages of different businesses. That's absolutely unconscionable that we're not represented. That's where my ties and these gray hairs. I never served in the military. I was raised, and I have deep respect for everyone that has, and two good friends who are in this race that served. Actually, 3 with General McCollum that served. Admirably and with great honor. But I think we're in a situation where the gray hair actually matters. I've earned every one of mine, and it comes to the wisdom to be able to make decisions, to weigh information, and then have that relational, the building of what I've been able to do with relations through the communities of Georgia where these facilities are so important, I think would be a great asset. And certainly when it comes to, you say everybody wants to be on. I had one of my folks who. Let me just say it this way. I think it's one of the folks that you're not going to be able to interview because they won't come in and see you, and they won't come in and see anybody or join us on a debate or do anything like that. Said at a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, I want to be on the Agriculture Committee because I know everything there is to know about agriculture. And that is one reason, folks, I'm asking you to vote for me because of that absolute bizarre response. That's one good reason. There's no wisdom in an answer like that. I don't know everything there is to know about agriculture, but the leadership I've been able to provide and for rural communities and for this industry over 40 years, I think would be a doggone good asset for the future of Georgia.
Now, let's spend a moment here talking about the divide that's shaping up in Georgia. There used to be fairly much 50-50 urban-rural divide. Atlanta grows and throws off that balance. How do you, as you're already a statewide elected official, balance the needs and desires of an urban population with those of a rural population that feels left behind?
Well, Eric, that's what I've been doing in my job. It was one of the most, the tragedy surrounding COVID. I'll never forget the day that my cell phone, not my landline, but my cell phone, because he has it. Mike Thurman, CEO of DeKalb County, is a mighty good friend. We don't agree over some stuff, but we're good friends. Mike called me and he said, I got to have some help. He said, I've got my CARES money. I got to feed my people. And he said, I need a turnkey job. How do we do this? How do I get food boxes to my folks? So I was able to make sure that we got Georgia-grown products in boxes put together by a Georgia-grown company that Mike Thurman paid a fair price for, and his folks in DeKalb County got a great product. And that happened during the spring, and I came alongside Mike Thurman out at Halliford Stadium and put boxes in cars of folks that needed it. And we've done that and many more things. Working with school nutrition, I've worked with Atlanta City Schools, other schools. We've changed the face of the way school nutrition is approached. Working with Richard Woods at Department of Education and others, so that gets down to those are helping families. Don't make a difference where they live, because we want to get good fuel inside the next generation of students. I just want it to be Georgia grown. That creates a market opportunity for our folks. And again, I think there's certainly some things on the federal level that I could be very influential in helping change that landscape. But my regulatory responsibilities are food safety, and every consumer in Georgia wants their food to be safe, and we've kept it that way. Every Georgia impacted by a storm like we talked about in Michael, that was just not agriculture, folks. We're there to make sure that the trains keep running on time, the fuel's there, and that our wonderful partners in the grocery store business are they're available to serve people. So I've been fortunate to build a lot of those relationships that cut across party line, cut across disciplines that are not just the purity of agriculture, but they actually the things that impact your kitchen table and everyday life. And I've been fortunate enough to build those relationships that be very helpful in this race. Already are proven so. And to my buddy Mike, I mean, we still talk, and I've been fortunate enough to have, when you talk about vote generating, which is, I'm still one of those that believes the person with the most votes actually wins.
Right.
And I have been successful in leading the ticket. The last 3 general elections, I get the highest percentage of anybody on the ballot. Why? It's because we work with everybody. I solve problems. I return phone calls. I don't have no staff gets up every day and puts me together. And that's what I'll do as United States Senator. I'll be a senator day one. I'll put a staff together, put Georgia that works for Georgia. You won't have to worry about putting electing a staff that doesn't live here to tell their senator what to do every day, because I know Georgia and Georgia knows me. And those are the kind of things that'll be very helpful in this race. Doesn't make a difference what the and cut across, generating those votes in DeKalb and Cobb and Fulton are very important. We've generated more than anybody on the ticket in the last 3 general elections. That's going to pay off this time too.
When we come back, I'm going to cede the microphone to you completely to make your closing pitch to why. Before I get out of here, I got to tell people about Patriot Mobile, one of my great advertisers around the country, whether in rural Georgia or urban Georgia where I travel. I get great cell phone service from them. You can too, and a portion of their profits goes to the conservative movement. You go to patriotmobile.com/Eric, patriotmobile.com/ERICK. You get free activation with my name. You get great discounts if you're a veteran, first responder, you got a large household, you're a teacher, you're an NRA member. They'll work with you. patriotmobile.com. You can also call them 972-PATRIOT. Tell them I sent you. Get free activation. 972-PATRIOT or patriotmobile.com/ERICK. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here nationwide from my flagship studio in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm joined by Gary Black. He's the Commissioner of Agriculture in Georgia. He's running for the U.S. Senate. You got about 3 minutes here by the clock. Gary, I want to give the microphone to you. Why you, not them?
Eric, thank you. And to all your listeners, why me, not them? And it's a matter of, I think most Republicans in Georgia believe it's very important to win an election. It's not just simply about firing Raphael Warnock. If I could fire him, I'd fire him today. But the only way you fire him is you have to win an election. I'm fortunate I've won 3 statewide elections by considerable margins. That's a very big plus when you're considering who to vote for. If you look on the issues, we're all conservative. I'm pro-life 100%. And we go down the litany of those things. We've got to stop federal spending. I want to fix the border. There are many of those things that get down to issues. Are there much difference? You talked about serving on committees a while ago. Everybody probably has the same desires, but it comes down, is this time for an experiment? You want to roll the dice and try to win, or you want to win? And it comes to, if you can win, I win. I win elections. I've been fortunate enough, people have trusted me to do this job, and that track record is precisely what it's going to take to defeat Raphael Warnock. We want this race being about our nominee, because you don't want it about our nominee. If it's about our nominee's inexperience, about our nominee's deficiencies, then Raphael Warnock will never be held accountable. If I'm the nominee, it will be about the failed policies of Raphael Warnock and Joe Biden, and he'll have to account for those votes. My record is of serving Georgia. I don't have a record at the police department, and I don't want my nominee's record being prosecuted that way. I'm blessed from a standpoint of organization. We're organized in all 159 counties. I always have been. That's when it takes. You look at over half the sheriffs have endorsed me. They don't win an election for you, but they certainly are good to check up on you and say how good a job they do. I've told them a group this other night. I know that Calhoun, Georgia, is a city, and Morgan is a county. But there's not many, I don't think anybody else in this race knows that Morgan, Georgia is the county seat of Calhoun County. And you're not going to win Georgia unless you know that. And you've got to be able to go from Valdosta to Vienna. And by the way, it's not Vienna, it's Vienna, to Vinings, and not have a map. And that experience is what it's going to take to win this race. And if Georgians want to win, I've been blessed to win, and we'll win moving forward. We're right on the issues in solving the problems related to this invasion, getting federal government money, federal spending under wraps will be one of the steps towards solving the inflation problem. Returning to energy independence is another one of those that will help solve that problem as well. But having that trusted experience is exactly what it's going to take to win. So I would say, just as you're hiring somebody at church or hiring somebody to work here at WSB, there are 4 things that you're going to do. It's real simple. Number 1, you're going to do a background check. Google's a very powerful tool. I ask you folks, check everybody, and check me, I'll pass. Number 2, check your references. I just mentioned the sheriffs. Former Governor Deal, Congressman Doug Collins, Congressman Lynn Westmoreland, some mighty good friends. Again, they'll win an election for me, but they'll tell you how good a job I do. And local county commissioners, those kind of folks we've had a chance to work with, that matters. Number 3 is, do the things you say, are they truthful? So I think telling the truth is really important. I think there's some challenges in this race of folks telling the truth. You look at my website, those are kind of those things that I wrote, and I believe them. But the last is this: it's a job. It's a job, so check the job description. Do the skills match the job description? And who would you hire? I'm asking you folks to hire me. It's VoteGaryBlack.com is my website. I'm honored to be with you today, and I'm honored to ask everyone for your vote.
Gary Black, Commissioner of Agriculture, thank you very much.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.